across security, ethics, and operational resilience. Let's give it up for Dr. Connie.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. I'm so excited to be here in this session with all of you today. But what's really exciting is, as Deborah stated, I am a doctoral chair, and I have two of my previous students who are now doctors here with me. So I'm very excited. Okay, so yeah. This one? The middle. All right, so today is not about illness. So sometimes when people see this title, they think that we're talking about well-being in terms of illness. It's not. It's about leadership power. It's about reclaiming your well-being as a leadership imperative. So, and you guys heard this through the previous presenters, is that as women, and sometimes men, right, and especially when you're high achieving, you quietly surrender your well-being to, in the name of excellence, what's going on in the business. You give everything up for what you're trying to accomplish inside the business. So I'm going to have 4 takeaways that I'd like you to have when you walk away. One is to recognize early, and I forgot my glasses, so I'll be looking here and here because I can't really see. So if I'm looking at you, it's probably really blurry. But I know there's people there. So I'm going to try to read this as best I can. So if I skip something or misstate something, just know she didn't see it. All right, so the first one is recognize early warning signs of burnout and health decline. The other one is understanding boundaries as a leadership tool. That's a big one. Identify culture patterns impacting your well-being. And then I want you to consider taking away a 90-day well-being plan. All right, so here's a question for you. So, what did you ignore to get to where you are today? Was it sleep? Was it time with your family? Was it your health? What exactly did you ignore? How many of you ignored that because we're being praised for being so strong? Go ahead, raise your hand. I ignored it. I didn't have a chance to. I had to be resilient, right? That's that leadership lie. How many of you had been told, you're always so good at handling everything. You do everything so well. We can always count on you. You never fall apart. Okay, now put your hand up. Everybody put their hand up and keep your hand up if while you were hearing that, you were quietly exhausted. Look around the room. Look how many people, you were running on fumes. You hadn't had enough sleep. While you hadn't processed something heavy in your own life. Lots of times there's things that's going on in our own life and we're still running, right? In the name of leadership. So what qualifies you to talk about this? Well, I think Deborah talked a little bit about my executive experience. You guys know I'm a professor for University of Phoenix and for Columbia Southern. I'm a new author. My book is over here. It just came yesterday. The title of my book is called Shades of Strength, Defying the Brown Paper Bag Test. And so for people in the African American Black culture, if you're as old as I am, or older, so the brown paper bag test comes from an historical aspect. It comes from, if you're familiar with the slavery, you had 2 sets of people. You had what they call the people that worked the fields were typically the darker skin or darker complexion, Black people. And then you had the lighter skin who actually worked in the house, right? So it created a stigma in our culture. And so after slaves were freed and they began to open up businesses, particularly restaurants, or they used to call them juke joints, which are bars, right? Then if those establishments were Black and white, if you came to them, you had to pass. You had to be better or lighter than that color of a brown paper bag to get in. Yes. Ooh, wow. So growing up, as you guys see, I'm dark complexion. And so I was one of the darkest complected on my peers, my cousins, my sisters. And so I had that stigma, I always felt that stigma because I was called darky or blackie. And so what you guys will find in my book is how resilient I was and how I turned into and being successful as I am today. So if you get a chance, stop over there. I have my kids here selling my books. So. And I'm also a breast cancer survivor, which I also talk about in the book. So here's the leadership lie. Strong leaders don't stop. We keep going. We keep going. And we keep going. But the cost of silent strength. We get praised for endurance, and we get punished for neglect. So if you neglect your work for your health, then she done checked out. You could, was never off. I was off for 2 reasons. I had children, and I had breast cancer. But when you take off for that, do you feel like, oh my God, they're gonna think I'm not doing my job well? They're gonna talk about me and say I'm always out. You're not always out, you were out. I was out 3 times and 4 with breast cancer. But it felt like they were gonna talk about, she's never here. So that's the paradox. Strength traits can become health risk. In the name of responsibility, commitment, and emotional intelligence, we act like we're strong when we're not, particularly women. We endure in silence, which if you're doing that, let me tell you a story. So I had a manager, so I'm trying to create a better culture. And I have people over here that can attest to, I'm still not great at this. I'm talking about it. I keep talking about it because I'm hoping one day I'll be 100% better. So I'm trying to create a culture as a leader that says, when you're ill, you cannot give this business 100%. So I'd rather you step away and come back when you're ready. So I'm often telling my managers, I'll hear them cough or sneeze or whatever, and I'm like, step away, it's okay. I'm like, even if it's a few hours, right, step away. And I'm like, I got you. So we're on this call one morning, and oh man, I was just like hacking up. And so I had one of my directors, he sends me a Teams message, and he says, you're sick, step away, we got this. Nice. And I did. No, I didn't. That was a lie. Okay. What I actually did was, I did a few more emails, but I did finally step away. So leadership without well-being is unsustainable influence. So if you're not creating that culture with your teams, and sometimes your teams don't have to be teams. You don't have to work in corporate to have a team. Your team is your family, because you need to be encouraging your family the same way. My son is here. He's gonna be like, oh Lord. Oh Lord. So sometimes when he's ill, I'd be like, don't go to work, don't go in. But unfortunately, he's a victim. He's a victim of what he saw me do.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's dragging his stuff to work. I broke my leg. So the reclamation model includes 4 pillars. You have awareness, boundaries, culture, and integration. Pillar 1, awareness. You cannot protect what you refuse to notice. Can I say that with me? You cannot protect what you refuse to notice. So now, I told Alicia, my best friend, my sister friend, my chosen sister, when Deborah was talking, I said, you always know people who are in education, that they're either teachers or they're instructors, because we make people stand up a lot. So I'm going to ask everybody to stand up. Okay. So These are some of the signs that we ignore most. So if you only ignore one of these, sit down. If you ignore at least two of these, sit down. Now look around the room, because everybody that's standing ignores three or all of these. That's huge, right? Go ahead, sit down. So because I really want you guys to recognize how often a lot of us do this. We ignore not one, not two, but all of these signs, and we ignore them frequently. Ignore signs can become insight. So I have to tell you another story. And so I want you to picture this as if you were me. So here, this is really strange. I'm going to tell this story, and guess where it starts? In Chicago. Mm-hmm. In 2008, May, I had a leadership conference. I worked for SBC, previously Bel, now AT&T. And we had acquired, I'm not sure what the telephone company was here, Ameritech? Yes. Ameritech? Yeah, Ameritech, right? Was it Ameritech here in Chicago? I think so. So we had to come here for a leadership conference. And so at that time, I was a little slimmer. I was younger. Thought I was cute. I loved wearing white blouses. I mean, that was my signature, white blouses. And so I kept having a not feeling under my arm, but I would do my arm like this. I just kept feeling something. So I was talking to my roommate on the phone one night, and he said, "You should really get that checked out." I was like, no. And he said, so we went back and forth. It actually became a little bit of a battle. And so he said, "Give me your login. I'm going to log in and send your doctor a message. You need to be seen." It's like, okay, whatever. So I gave it to him, didn't think about it, because the only thing I was thinking about was, this is going to turn into a boil, and it's going to burst, and it's going to mess up my white blouse. That's all I could think about. So I go home, and he made me an appointment. I go to the doctor. The doctor said it was a skin infection, so I accepted that. I accepted it because it was an easy answer. I accepted it because I can go back to work now. It's nothing. I needed to work. A couple weeks go by, it still was there. So I made I called it, he made me, together, we called my doctor, and he was like, "I'll make you an appointment with the breast clinic." So I go to the breast clinic, and they said, "We want you to go down." The doctor sees me. "We want you to go down and do another, what is it? Sonogram? Mammogram." And so I go do the mammogram, which I was thinking I just had a mammogram, so they're sending me back, whatever. So at this time, we didn't have the great phones that we had, and all of our earpieces were, they weren't like earbuds, they were like connected. So I go to there, and I'm like in there, and they're calling me, go to the sonogram. I'm still on the phone, and it's like, look, you can't bring that in here. You gotta turn it off. I'm like, okay. So I sit it down, and they do that, and I hear her, and she ran out, and then she came back. And I was like, okay. And she's like, "Come on, we're gonna go down and do a sonogram." So we walk down the hall, and same difference, I'm back on the conference call, listening like that. Get in there, I'm on the table, the nurse comes in, "You gotta put that away." I'm like, "Oh, okay, all right." So put the phone down. Never, actually, to be honest, I never hung up off the conference call. I muted it and put the phone down, because it was like, work was so important. So she leaves, and she comes back, and she says, "Well, they want you." I didn't even ask who they were, because I really was like half listening, right? She said, "They want you to go have lunch and come back. Can you do that?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, sure. Because I can go get on and finish this call." We have calls back to back to back to back, death by conference call, right? So I go do my conference call during lunch, and I come back, and the doctor comes in, and she says, "We're going to have to do an emergency biopsy." And so she got a little bit of my attention. Now, mind you, I'm sitting in there, I'm on the little table thing, and I have my earpiece in, so I'm listening to a conference call. And so I take it out of my ear, and I put it down. And she went and got a machine, and so they started doing the biopsy, of course, And she says, "I'm 99.9% sure this is breast cancer." And that's when my world stopped. That's when the conference call became no longer important. That's when work became no longer important. So we have to set up boundaries. It is also a leadership imperative that we have boundaries. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of what I call reframing this. I do this all the time with my boss, all the time, because he loves crossing those boundaries. Think about, answer this question, you don't have to say it out loud, just think about it. A situation where I feel overstanding is. A recurring request that I should decline is. What is that request that you keep getting all the time that you know, one, is probably not even your responsibility, right? But you keep taking it on. And then craft your boundary statement. My well-being and leadership impact are strongest when so I will no longer. And so how do you do that? Because we all report to somebody. Boss, I appreciate the opportunity, but I am at my capacity. My favorite one is the bottom one, you can hardly see it. It says, I can't take that on without removing something else. That scares them all the time. Because then they have to decide what else or what can they remove from your plate. And then who's going to get that? And who's going to be most effective at removing that? Set your boundary statement. The next pillar, we've heard this, I think 3 or 4 times already, is culture. Burnout is rarely an individual failure. If you run teams, it's a team failure. You're failing your team, you're failing your corporation. If you run your personal business, you're failing yourself. If you run a household, you're failing your children, your husbands, your significant others. What we like to say when we take over teams is, I inherited that. It was like that when I inherited it, so why should I change it? Right? Leaders don't inherit culture. We create it. We design it. What I did when I took over this team is, I have what I call Mindful Wednesdays. And so on Mindful Wednesdays, I schedule a 1-hour conference call. And somebody said, I think Ewa said it, if we don't schedule it, it's not gonna happen. And that call is nothing. You get on, there's soft music playing. I have people jump on. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But it's an hour where it's just peaceful music and it's nothing. It's silence. We're not talking. We're not nothing. That gives my team permission to step away, refresh their mind before they continue business. It's only once a week. It's 1 hour. It's worth it. I love them. They love me. We're high performing. It's not costing us anything. Here we go. Well-being must be scheduled like a strategy. So, who's going to hold you accountable? You got to think about, if you're going to change this, you have to think about who you're going to tap as that person that's going to hold you accountable. So I hold my team accountable, and I just realized now they hold me accountable as well. So think about, you have to have an accountability partner. If you're going to change yourself and you're going to change your culture, you need an accountability partner. The reason I'm telling this story is because there's power in stories. I'm not going to go through all of this because Cynthia is telling me to almost stop. So here's what I want you to move from. Remove from silent suffering to self-preservation. I'm going to say that again. Move your organization, yourself, from silent suffering to self-preservation. The shift. Strong leaders refuse unnecessary pain. You don't have to be in pain. Well-being is not personal, it's leadership. Commitment. What signal will you never ignore again? I hope you guys capture that. So here's my last thing, Cynthia. You gotta make a pledge. You gotta pledge. So I need you guys to stand up and I need you guys to make a pledge. And it is simply, say it with me. I commit to protecting my well-being as a leadership priority. Thank you.
Well, as one cancer survivor to another, I had stage 3 uterine cancer at 30. How many